You do such a great job on your show, and everyone up there late night. But what is harder for you to cover the election on your show, or is it harder on Saturday Night Live, like when you would have to play someone? Or
Well, I think the nice thing now is, I've just been in the business a little bit longer. I sort of know maybe how to say the things I want to say better. So I'm making the choices on my own. Whereas at SNL, you get assigned, a politician to play, and that was very stressful for me.
Really?
Yeah. The most famous politician, my ceiling, I got all the way up to John Kerry. So that was
remember
2004.
this.
Yeah.
I was there.
And I single-handedly tanked that campaign.
You did. That was great.
Not bad, John Kerry.
That's
right?
a great John Kerry. Yeah.
And I ran into him this summer, John Kerry, the actual John Kerry, which is kind of exciting, right? It's, and I don't know, you did more impressions than me, but when you run into people who you played, it's a big deal, right?
Sure.
And here's the thing, I was with my kids earlier in the day, and I was wearing a straw hat, and my youngest son was wearing a straw hat, but he didn't want to wear his straw hat. And I had forgotten, right before I went over to say hi to John Kerry, because I was carrying my little one, that I had put his straw hat on top of my straw hat. And so I went over and I talked to John Kerry, and I was feeling good about myself because we had a nice interaction.
He was laughing, is it?
He was laughing. I was like, oh, it's good. It was nice. And then I walked over and my wife said, I took a picture of you talking to John Kerry. Don't be mad, but I think you forgot you're wearing two hats.
This is why.
Just a dude.
This is why. We give you a little wah-wah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You must have been like, this is the dickhead who played me? Could have been in the White House if it wasn't for Two Hat Myers.
It all works out the way it is. It all works out for a reason.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
The next Democratic debate is just over a week away.
Yeah.
And there's a big surge online. A lot of people want you to be
I would hate
the moderator.
I would hate it. I think there's no winning to be a moderator in these.
What are you talking? I think you'd be
I don't know if you feel this way. Sometimes when I have people who are running for president on my show, I get nervous. I don't want to interrupt them, because I feel like, they're out to get the most important job in the world. And I'm doing them a disservice because a lot of them can be super boring. And by respecting them, I don't know if you had this thing, because again, at one point there were 24 people running for the Democratic nomination.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because you would say, hey, our next guest is running for the Democratic nomination for president. And the audience would go crazy because they would think, oh my God, I might be seeing the next president of the United States. And then about 2 or 3 minutes into the interview, you could hear them all sort of feeling like, they're not going to be president.
Yeah.
Not going to be president. I didn't know who you were, but you did know who you were.
You actually did know who you were.
And you thought president?
You thought?
Yeah.
All right. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. You're feeling pretty good about yourself.
Shooting for the moon there. Okay, shooting for the moon. So you would never do that.
No, I don't think it would be a lot of fun. And people, I think some of the criticisms are fair for the people who moderate those debates, but it's really hard, I think, to.
Yeah, it's almost like a no-win job, right?
It's a no-win job.
Everyone's just, yeah.
What
does Karen know? Is that the bit that I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. What does Karen know? We have a writer, Karen Chee.
I love this bit.
The youngest writer on our staff. She's 24, I believe. And we realized pretty quickly that 24-year-olds don't know the same things as 40-year-olds.
Yeah. I know that, yeah.
And it's not because it's too smart for them.
Yeah.
They're more like, that's a dumb thing that I don't care about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we would make references, like pop culture references, and Karen would constantly be like, I don't know who that is. So one of the writers on our show, who's far closer to me in age, Matt Goldich, came up with this idea where basically I would hold up art cards and Karen would have to guess who they are. And it makes you feel great shame for your era of life. Yeah, when you show a picture of Jean-Claude Van Damme.
No.
And not only does she not know who he is, but then when you try to explain why he was so awesome, you realize maybe he wasn't, You know what I mean? You're like, we watch his movies, and they were like, what were they about?
Out on 2 trucks, and
they're like, what was he good at? And you were like, kicking. Kicking. That was the only way to stop that guy.
He was to kick people.
In the 90s, it was just kicking. It was a simpler time.
Who did the Cabbage Patch doll?
Oh, yeah. We showed her Garbage Pail Kids.
That's what I meant, Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah, which was another hard sell. But then it was really lovely. The people from Tops who make Garbage Pail. They made
Baseball
one.
cards,
They
yeah.
made one for me and Karen, so we have our own Garbage Pail kit.
No way.
Pretty big deal.
Who
Yeah.
did the actual? Remember, there was someone who was dressed as, I think it was the Bachelor.
Oh yeah. We did the Cabbage Patchler, which was it was the Bachelor.
Dude, whoever
it
did
was
that
two people who
deserves
had,
an award.
Two people had reconstructive surgery to make himself look like
A Cabbage Patch doll,
people.
yeah.
Yeah. And then it was about them finding love on the Cabbage Patchler.
The makeup
was incredible.
Incredible.
By the way, I think we did that a year ago. You're literally the first person who's mentioned it to me.
I loved it. I thought it was so great. Props to whoever did that. Who do you have on the show tonight?
We have AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh.
We have James Taylor. How about that?
Wow, I love that.
Big show.
Are you
Big
psyched
show.
for that?
I'm very excited. You know who's the most excited is our friend Mike Shoemaker.
Shoemaker must be
because AOC from the Bronx,
Yep.
our producer Mike Shoemaker from the Bronx, and James Taylor, who he claims is the only person he listened to when he grew up in the Bronx. So this is a show perfectly
He must
for
be
him.
doing
He's
cartwheels
very,
right now.
Very happy.
I'll tell him I love him, all right?
I will.
I love you, buddy. Seth Meyers, everyone. Stay tuned after the Tonight Show for Late Night with Seth Meyers.
On and on and on. I said, and it's on and on and on.